everybody, this is dkdynamite, and today what I have for you guys is a little bit of clarification about DLC 5 or Victis Chronicles within Black Ops 4. There are a couple of things that I really wanted to address. The first thing is an actual statement by Craig Houston, which kind of left me scratching my head after I heard it in the recent Treyarch livestream right before the release of Tag Der Toten. So after mentioning the really exciting return of the Victis crew, he did specifically mention the following.
But the characters are being guided a little bit by Nikolai because he needs them to go certain places and achieve certain things for the benefit of everyone. And why this place? Well, talk about things coming full circle.
Now, when I first heard this, I'm like, wait a second, there are a couple of plurals in that statement. He specifically says that Nikolai is going to be sending them to certain places to do certain things. Now, he could have just said send them to a certain place to accomplish a certain thing, right? Go to Tag Der Toten, get the Agarthian device. One place, one thing. But the fact that he uses a plural, sending them to certain places, right away when I heard that, I'm like, wait, could that mean they go to Transit, Die, Rise, and Buried before the events of Tag Der Toten? I mean, that would make a lot of sense. And as I've said in a previous video, a DLC 5 prequel to Tag Der Toten still does work. However, there are a couple of things that need to be addressed, and that's the fact that Victis does not acknowledge ever going to Transit, Die, Rise, and Buried again before the events of Tag Der Toten. But you could explain that in a number of different ways. You could say, well, Treyarch didn't want to spoil this other adventure they went on before Tag Der Toten. You could say, well, there's 115 Displacement and 115 Illusions, and they forgot about where they went before Tag because according to the Victis dialogue in the map, they say that the last mission they went on was to get the Chronorium, which is of course in the comic book. So there's a couple of things Treyarch would have to work with if DLC 5 is in fact a prequel, but again, anything is possible when it comes to these maps. But one of my previous videos goes in depth about how it could be a sequel. And again, the maps taking place in the Dark Aether still makes sense. It still works. However, it's kind of contradicting Treyarch's statement that Tag Der Toten is the end of the line for all three of our crews, Primus, Ultimus, and Victis. So that's why DLC 5 being a prequel doesn't break that statement at all from Treyarch. Treyarch could say, you know what, Tag Der Toten is the end of the line for our three crews chronologically, but we still have another story to tell that took place before Tag Der Toten, which obviously fits perfectly with DLC 5. So in terms of Craig Houston's statement, maybe that's what it meant. Maybe he's like, yeah, Nikolai does send the Victis crew to, the Transit, Die, Rise, and Buried maps to do a different task. But in terms of what that task was, it's still unknown because it seems like Nikolai's introducing himself to the Victis crew over on Tag Der Toten. So it's a bit of a weird situation. We just have no idea what could have happened in the 3 remakes if they are taking place before Tag Der Toten. Because what would have been the purpose of going there before Tag? Not many of us could know that, but when it comes to them being a sequel in the Dark Aether, that's where a lot more is possible with what those maps could actually mean. They could be setting up the reboot, they could just be giving us closure to the Victis crew, to where Victis somehow gets access to the Agarthian device again, makes their wishes, has closure. They could possibly turn on those polarization towers again for an unknown reason. They could revive dead Ultimus Richthofen, maybe he's the villain of the next game. There's a lot they can do here. I just don't know what it could be, but I do think, again, it could work as both a prequel or a sequel, but Treyarch would have to play around with how the storyline would be told because we don't really hear much about Victis going anywhere else in the map Tag Der Toten. They don't say anything about going on different adventures. Nikolai doesn't hint at anything, so we'll just have to wait and see. But the other thing I wanted to bring up is agendas changing so rapidly behind the scenes that it may impact the actual release date of a DLC 5. So what I'm going to assume is, depending on how smooth development goes for Call of Duty 2020 and depending on how Modern Warfare actually sells and its DLC season and how that does, depending on how all of that goes, may determine if a DLC 5 is happening sooner than later. But I would not be surprised if the development on Call of Duty 2020 is going so poor that a DLC 5 might not happen. Because again, even though inside sources who literally just leaked the entirety of Modern Warfare and leaked a lot of elements of Black Ops 4's DLC season, even though those people are saying that a DLC 5 is still happening, you almost never know what's going to happen because of Activision, right? One day Treyarch is working on Operation Grand Heist, making it the best operation they can possibly make it, and then they're also planning for a year 2, some bonus DLC content in the future. They're planning for all that. All of a sudden Activision walks into their office and says, you know what, Sledgehammer and Raven couldn't get their shit together for Call of Duty 2020, unfortunately, so we're going to make you guys in charge of that project, but you guys have to get the project off the ground. Sledgehammer and Raven will be your support studios to make that happen, but unfortunately, we're going to cut your budget for the rest of Black Ops 4's DLC season, which impacts DLC 3 and 4 for zombies, any potential year 2 projects, and we have no idea what that means for the content they had planned, like 2 more Chaos maps, DLC 5, Grief in Turn, Newton's Cookbook. We don't know what the budget cuts really impacted necessarily, besides the fact that we couldn't get CGI cutscenes for Alpha, Omega, and Tagler Toten. So who knows what else that impacted, but even though reliable inside sources are saying that, oh, DLC 5 is still happening, don't worry, even though they're saying that, you gotta take it with a grain of salt, because again, agendas change so fast that something may be set in stone 100% happening on one day, then the next day it's scrapped or delayed indefinitely. You know, take factions for example. They mentioned it before release, at release, and even on National 115 Day to remind you that yes, it was a feature that was coming, but Treyarch soon realized that they didn't have the time or resources to invest in this new system that would involve 12 monthly events throughout the actual life cycle of Black Ops 4, where they would give you weekly and monthly callings for 4 different groups to take part in and compete in, and whoever won, whatever that challenge was, whatever group got the most wins or the most completions of that calling would win a certain character customization item. And you know, they saw our reception to the Halloween face paint event, and they're like, yeah, the community really doesn't want more face paints, which is what factions would have rewarded people with anyway. You know, they didn't want all these useless customization features. They wanted better rewards. They wanted reserves, tier skips, plasma, double XP. They wanted all these things, so let's rework factions as a whole, make it a universal system for all game modes and call it contracts, but legally they don't have to clarify that to the community. And obviously Activision has the best lawyers out there to where they don't have to clarify if they changed something at the last minute or delayed something or scrapped something. They don't have to do that, and they really don't owe it to the community, even though people out there were like, yeah, well, they should at least explain it to us. Activision doesn't feel that way. They have the lawyers that say, fuck everybody else, do your thing, and you can legally do it. So it's unfortunate, right? They feel like they don't owe us an explanation, and we'll just have to live with that if you continue playing Call of Duty. But that's an example of a feature that was 100% set in stone, but due to the circumstances of budget cuts, Call of Duty 2020, Black Ops 4's DLC development, because of all that, they had to scrap factions and rework it completely. So another example is my inside source, who did prove himself countless times. You know, he literally told me, hey, there's some ciphers on Voyage, using the fast travel, using a barcode, go look for them. And what do you know, I went and looked for them, and they were there. So he proved himself as a fired QA tester, unfortunately, but luckily he did have some proof that he was legit, and he told me that a super Easter egg was 100% set in stone at around the time Ancient Evil was coming out, but again, due to budget cuts and other resources going to COD 2020, they had to cut the super Easter egg for Black Ops 4, but he reminded me that that doesn't necessarily mean there won't be a super Easter egg in the future if a DLC 5 does happen, but as of right now, for the maps we have in game, there isn't a super Easter egg. We've also data mined so many times, also couldn't find one, but I just wanted to bring that up to you guys who are interested in DLC 5 and the circumstances regarding Activision. But I think we're at the point where we really have to look at all of the evidence we've gotten from reliable inside sources and kind of put the dots together ourselves in regards to what's going on with this 5th content drop for Black Ops 4 Zombies. And the thing is, these inside sources were saying that the maps are far into development, they're heavy remakes, there's all these new features, new bosses, new weapons, new areas. So could Treyarch really get that far in development for these maps and just scrap them? I just don't know, but these inside sources also made it clear that DLC 5's release is definitely dependent on how well Modern Warfare sells in October, and also how popular the post-launch season is for Modern Warfare. So in my opinion, Modern Warfare can sell insanely well within the month of October, within, you know, the holidays for 2019, but the post-launch season can't be that popular, can it be? You know, looking at what's even featured in the game, you can release a Battle Royale in 2020 for Modern Warfare with the new engine. You could have Spec Ops be updated every other month with new maps and new missions, but will that ever be as popular as a Zombies DLC season is? For even a game like World War II or Black Ops 3 or Infinite Warfare, can Spec Ops or Battle Royale really live up to that and still sell as well for Activision, you know, as opposed to doing Zombies? So I really don't think that's going to be the case. So I do believe DLC 5 can come out sooner than later. So if Modern Warfare sells poorly, don't be surprised to see a release during like holiday 2019 for a final quarter 4 sales boost for Activision. And if it does sell well, but the post-launch season isn't that good, then expect DLC 5 maybe in February, maybe March, maybe April, but hopefully not as far as, you know, the middle of May or June, similar to when the first Zombies Chronicles came out for Black Ops 3. But we just don't know. It's all up in the air. But also remember, we didn't get any definitive leaks that were like, wow, it's definitely legit now, until until, I want to say, February, back for Black Ops 3. We heard some rumors about a DLC 5, maybe around October or November of, 2016, but nothing was really set in stone to where you literally couldn't deny a DLC 5 was happening at that point. Even though we have leaks from reliable inside sources now, we still don't have anything super concrete that we're like, wow, nobody could deny it at this point. So again, be patient. We'll hopefully see some actual leaks for DLC 5 in the next few months, hopefully sooner than later. But again, I'll keep you guys updated with the latest information about a DLC 5 in Black Ops 4. And as a final reminder, there are so many assets that are already in game for a Victis Chronicles. Why would Treyarch have that in there for absolutely no reason? Why would they just specifically choose to put all these Victis assets in Blackout and multiplayer and not use them for a DLC 5? It's just Treyarch being proactive and being prepared in advance, as they were with the first Zombies Chronicles. They put a majority of the actual assets for a Zombies Chronicles in a map like Revelations. They got assets prepared in advance so they can reuse them for a different purpose. It's the same situation now, right? You have the entirety of Buried already in Blackout. You have many transit assets like Ted, the bus, the diner, the cornfield. You have so many of those assets in Blackout and multiplayer. Then you have a couple of little things for Die Rise, right? You have the actual lion statue that's holding the ball that you also use within the Die Rise Easter egg on the table directly in front of where the shield is built on Dead of the Night. So you have a couple of things already in game, on top of having the actual Victis character models that were used for Tag or Toten, with the voice actors all returning to do their voices too. So you have so many things already in game. It would be such a missed and wasted opportunity if a DLC 5 doesn't happen for Black Ops 4. And I'll stick to this, as I've said many times before too. It does not make sense to remake or remaster maps that are part of the OG Ether storyline in the game that's apparently going to be rebooting and restarting the Black Ops franchise altogether, which is obviously COD 2020. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. I just want to give you guys a quick update on DLC 5 for Black Ops 4. Leave all your thoughts down below in the comment section. Be on the lookout for more Black Ops 4 gameplay, news, and coverage as we come out with some more creative videos later this week. That is about it, and peace out, everyone.